Welcome to the second tutorial where we will be looking at the scheduling of induction over the first half term. We'll be looking at the content of tasks and the way in which these tasks can be sequenced to meet the needs of your students. So our key aims in producing this Flying Starts induction programme has been to sequence the information clearly for the learners whilst integrating the induction information with an inspiring start to their vocational programme of study. So we've looked at what needs to be done immediately, what information learners are going to need in the first week that they're with us, and what can wait until later within that first half term. We have also thought about ways that we can help to engage the students and make them inspired and eager to get on with their study, and how you can work together as colleagues to make sure that you deliver this induction programme in a way that works for you. And finally, how can we make sure that students retain this information, that it's delivered in a way that is meaningful for them and has value, and that they're able to access the information as and when they need it for the rest of the year. So if we look at the features of the Flying Starts induction, the resources that have been created by a group of teachers and skills trainers across the college have been created with the aim of making the activity last about 15 minutes. So this could be a starter within one of your vocational sessions, or it could be an activity within a session that you plan when best to fit it in to the vocational focus that you have planned. But the resources aim to cover the areas that have been requested by students in the research that's been done over the last 2 years. Another aim is to ensure that this is an active programme, that the learners are actively engaged. So all the resources include a task for students to complete, whether that's a written task, a verbal task, or something that they need to do physically in terms of walking around the campus. The emphasis is on the students physically doing something to ensure that this process is meaningful for them. And they will keep a record of what they've learned from the tasks and what they still need to develop so that they have a reference point to look back on. As the tasks are going to be integrated within the vocational curriculum over the first half term, it's important that we build in opportunities to recap so that we can ensure that students retain the important information and skills rather than it being a one-off activity lasting 15 minutes, which is never referred to or developed again. This integration means that tasks can be built on and developed according to the needs of our students when we meet them in September, and with retrieval practice techniques we'll be able to keep that information fresh and valuable in the students' minds. So there's an expectation that as part of this induction programme, vocational teachers will keep recapping each of the areas of focus to make sure that it's a valuable and meaningful programme of induction. So I'm going to show you the schedule, which has been produced as a suggested schedule of when each of the task focuses should be covered within that first 6-week period. This can be adapted to meet the needs of your students. So if you take this schedule and discuss it with colleagues within your section and think about how this induction programme can be delivered most effectively. It also includes scheduling for safeguarding, student services and learning support who have provided resources that will be integrated within your sessions. So I'll show you here, this is the induction schedule. So for each of the areas of focus, we have a suggested week of coverage. And then we have usually 2, sometimes 1 example resources, which will be available for you to take as a starting point and adapt for the needs of your students. There's also a column here which builds on the previous slide where we talked about the need to recap and recall this information across the first 6 weeks of term. So the strands that these activities cover are in 4 areas. So the first section is around being inspired, so students feeling inspired to be at Newcastle College, safe and supported. Then we have getting ready for learning, some of which works in coalition with the tutorial programme. Then we have a focus on getting skilled, so note-taking skills, writing skills, speaking and listening skills that students will need across the college, whether they're HE students, whether they're on study programmes, whether they're adult learners or whether they're apprentices. These are generic skills which are going to be necessary whatever their vocational programme of study is. The final one is also linked to tutorial, and this is about getting a plan for learning. The areas that are highlighted in yellow are the contributions of the supporting services, and those activities will also be available in the same place as the generic activities for you to draw on and use within your vocational sessions. All this information, the schedule and the example activities are going to be stored within this team. So the Red Resources for Newcastle College's team will have a section. It's got a channel, Flying Starts Induction channel, which will house the schedule and all the example teacher activities, as well as a student induction booklet, which will be used to keep a record of these activities that the students have covered throughout the first 6 weeks. So everything will be housed in that one place for all staff to use and adapt from that point. Some of the resources are there already, all the generic resources that are there for you to start looking at. The resources that are being provided by safeguarding and the supporting services will be there by August and will be ready for you to use within your sessions. As I mentioned in the previous slide, you will also have access in that team, in that Flying Starts channel, to a copy of the student record booklet. And this will have the 4 induction themes: get inspired, get ready, get skilled and get a plan. And there'll be space within each of those themes for the students to make notes on each element of the induction. So they can make notes on what they already know, and there'll also be space for them to make a note of anything that they still need to know or that is a particular area of skill development. So a simple regular task that could be built into your delivery of these induction tasks would be for students to note down 3 key points and 1 question within that induction record book as they work through each part. If this is kept in the front of their file, then this sets up good study habits for them, and it's in a place that they'll be able to refer to if it is located in their file for the entire year. So things that you could be doing at this point in order to give yourself a flying start onto how you'll deliver this programme. Firstly, check the schedule and agree a plan with colleagues within your curriculum area of how this will be delivered within your programme. Secondly, review the student induction booklet and think about how you're going to get them to get into a regular habit of recording their responses to tasks and where this will be kept, and how you're going to ensure that students take this seriously and it's a meaningful resource for students. Thirdly, have a look at the example resources that are in the Flying Starts induction channel on that Red Newcastle Teachers team and plan how you might use and adapt these resources for your students. Finally, have a look at the resources from the support teams when they come onto that channel in August, and again plan how to use and adapt these. Join me for the third tutorial where we will look at how you can adapt specific example resources for your students. Thank you.